man. All right, much respect. You gonna be speaking for Arizona?
Yes, sir. Yeah,
All right.
we got a badass team with some cars for you, bro. You're gonna have your hands full.
You know, we left Memphis because, hey, we know that road ends.
In the high-octane world of underground racing, few names command as much attention or respect as Ryan Martin. Yet, what most fans don't realize is that before he became a dominant force in the drag racing circuit, Martin's life was rooted, not in engines, but in art. Born on September 5, 1973, he showed early promise as a painter and photographer, channeling emotion and discipline through brushstrokes and camera lenses. But fate had other plans. Behind his quiet demeanor was a passion for speed and machinery that would eventually pull him out of galleries and into garages. Today, that pivot has made him a household name in American motorsports. But the journey wasn't instant. It was built bolt by bolt, gear by gear. Martin's breakthrough came not just from his technical expertise, but from the image he built: calm, calculated, relentless. His Oklahoma-based auto shop, B&R Performance, started as a modest performance garage. In time, it evolved into a performance empire known for producing some of the most feared cars on the street and strip. With the Fireball Camaro as his signature weapon, Martin quickly began rewriting what was possible in radial tire racing. But it wasn't just the car that made waves, it was the man behind the wheel. In an arena where loud personalities often overshadow talent, Ryan Martin quietly dominated, letting horsepower and finish lines do the talking. His entrance into Street Outlaws was more than a casting decision. It was a cultural shift. Viewers were used to brawlers and big mouths, but Martin brought something new: precision. The contrast made him stand out. He wasn't just racing to win, he was racing to innovate, to test boundaries, to perfect what others thought unfixable. And it worked. Episode after episode, fans watched as he dismantled his competition with methodical consistency. Off-screen, he was refining parts, optimizing builds, and overseeing a business that would go on to reshape the way racers approached performance tuning. But beneath the sleek branding and high-powered machines lies a story of reinvention. Ryan Martin didn't start in the fast lane, he built his own. And in doing so, he didn't just become a racer. He became a symbol of how far focus and passion can take someone who refuses to accept limitations. Tucked inside Ryan Martin's Oklahoma garage sits a machine that redefined the standards of street racing: the original Fireball Camaro. On the surface, it's a 2010 Chevy Camaro SS, but under the hood, it's a twin-turbocharged Predator, built not for comfort, but for carnage. It's a symbol of controlled chaos engineering, precision wrapped in raw horsepower. With over 4,500 horses screaming under its hood, the Fireball isn't just fast, it's ferocious. Equipped with twin 102mm precision turbos and a 502 cubic inch 481X engine block from Proline Racing, this machine isn't a car, it's a declaration of war on mediocrity. In the world of radial tire racing, where every tenth of a second can define legacy, the Fireball Camaro shattered expectations. It was built to dominate on questionable surfaces, and it did just that, making a powerful first impression on mega cash days, a proving ground for only the most elite setups. Its massive Goodyear 34.5-inch slicks, Penske rear shocks, and high-precision turbochargers gave it a perfect blend of brute force and strategic finesse. But what truly set the car apart wasn't just its power, was its adaptability. Martin engineered it to be a street-capable monster, able to toe the line between unhinged aggression and strategic control, all while staying true to the Street Outlaws format. Behind the scenes, building this beast was anything but glamorous. It took sleepless nights, endless testing, and relentless fine. Martin wasn't chasing trends, he was rewriting the blueprint. Every nut, every bolt, every wire served a purpose. His intimate knowledge of forced induction technology allowed him to extract performance levels that most racers only dream of, while others poured money into horsepower. Martin invested in precision understanding, weight balance, aerodynamics, and traction management with almost surgical accuracy. The Fireball Camaro's reputation soon outgrew the garage it was built in. Among competitors, it became the car to beat on. Rarely did anyone succeed. Its presence at the starting line sent a clear message: the man behind the wheel didn't come to play, he came to dismantle. What began as an experiment in high-stakes performance became the cornerstone of Martin's identity. The Fireball wasn't just a career, it was his calling card, his proof of concept, his challenge to the rest of the racing world. And while others chased fame, Ryan built Firepoint 3. In the world of elite drag racing, staying still means falling behind. Ryan Martin understood this early, and it's why he's never let his Fireball Camaro rest on past glory. While the twin setup that once powered his original build shook the racing scene, 2024 marked a turning point in Martin's performance philosophy. In a bold and strategic move, he ditched turbochargers altogether in favor of a screw-type supercharger setup. At the heart of this evolution was a brand new Hemi engine configuration, a radical departure from the traditional GM power plants that had defined much of his career. It wasn't just an upgrade, it was a revolution under the hood. This transition wasn't made on a whim. Martin had long observed the split-second differences in response times and power delivery between super and turbo systems. In no-prep racing, where the surface is unpredictable and traction is never guaranteed, instant power matters more than peak numbers. Turbochargers deliver massive boosts, but they need time. Superchargers, especially the screw-blown variety, respond immediately. That immediacy can mean the difference between a win and a burnout gone wrong. It was the logical next step for a racer who refuses to be outpaced by the very technology he helped popularize. Martin's decision aligned with a growing shift among elite racers who recognize the advantages of consistent, linear power in chaotic track conditions. The move also solidified his partnership with Proline Racing, whose 481X engine blocks were already considered state-of-the-art. Now armed with a 572 Ci Hemi architecture and stage 3-cylinder heads, Martin wasn't just changing, Parsi was rewriting his competitive identity. The screw supercharger system pushed the Fireball's responsiveness to its limit, making every launch sharper, every finish more decisive. But the transition also came with risk. Changing core components meant relearning how the car behaved. It launched, gripped, and accelerated. Tuning a supercharged setup demanded an entirely different skill set, but Martin didn't flinch. Instead, he doubled down on testing, data collection, and track time. He wasn't experimenting, he was evolving. This new chapter for the Fireball Camaro marked more than a technical upgrade. It represented Martin's refusal to rely on past victories. While others were content recycling what worked, Martin pushed into new territory, chasing the edge with the same hunger that first put him on the map. The turbo era may have defined his rise, but the supercharger era, that's what's keeping him on top. While the original Fireball Camaro forged Ryan Martin's identity on the racing circuit, it was his second weapon, the 2018 ZL1 Camaro, that confirmed his status as a builder with vision. Sleeker, smarter, and backed by cutting-edge factory technology, the ZL1 wasn't just a faster car, it was a smarter one. At first glance, it might seem like a backup plan or a side project. But in reality, this modern machine was built with the same obsessive focus that defines everything Martin touches. What separates this car from its predecessor is more than a few years of innovation. It's a strategic leap forward in how a racer blends stock engineering with custom enhancements. The ZL1 project reunited Martin with a familiar name in the racing world, Bill Gilsbach, the builder behind the original Fireball Camaro. Gilsbach had already proven his craftsmanship could handle Martin's ambitious demands. Their renewed collaboration wasn't about nostalgia, it was about trust. In a sport where precision is non-negotiable and the smallest inconsistency can spell disaster, having a consistent build philosophy is everything. Martin understood this. Gilsbach delivered it. The ZL1 came equipped with a modern chassis, refined aerodynamics, and factory-installed performance systems that gave it an immediate edge in handling and adaptability. But under Martin's supervision, the car underwent a metamorphosis. It became more than just a next-gen Camaro, it became a blueprint for future street-legal monsters. With the same eye for quality over quantity that had defined his earlier work, Martin made sure this car was dialed in, not just for race dominance, but for long-term resilience. Its development wasn't rushed. Martin approached it with the same methodical patience he's known for, testing configurations, dialing in weight distribution, and perfecting engine pairings. It wasn't just about creating speed, it was about creating predictability under pressure. That's what wins races. That's what builds reputations. And for Ryan Martin, it was a reminder that while Fireball might have captured the spotlight, the ZL1 was quietly reinforcing the empire. This car also served a symbolic role. It demonstrated that Martin wasn't limited to one signature build or one platform. He could evolve, adapt, and innovate across generations of muscle cars. By choosing to invest in the ZL1 and collaborate once again with Gilsbach, Martin sent a clear message to his competitors. He wasn't relying on a single legacy. He was building a Dynasty 1 brutal machine at a time. At the heart of Ryan Martin's success lies not just a car, but a company, B&R Performance. A shop that has quietly become one of the most respected names in high-performance automotive tuning, tucked away in Oklahoma City. The garage may look like any other from the outside, but step inside, and you're entering a nerve center for innovation, horsepower, and racing mastery. What began as a modest performance repair shop has grown into a nationally recognized operation, with a reputation for quality builds, elite tuning, and customer loyalty that borders on fanatical. Ryan Martin co-founded B&R Performance with a clear goal to offer more than flashy paint jobs and bolt-in kits. He wanted to create a space where street racers and car enthusiasts alike could access precision-built vehicles, capable of dominating on any surface. And he succeeded. Today, B&R Performance offers tiered upgrade packages ranging from $8,899 to over $50, each tailored to the driver's needs and track demands. For those with custom dreams, there's no listed price, just the promise that if it can be built, it will be. But this is no mass production garage. Martin's strategy has always prioritized quality over volume. Every car that rolls out of B&R reflects his personal standard. It's the same attention to detail that turned the Fireball Camaro into a cultural icon. Whether it's a LT1 build or a full-blown drag-prepped monster, B&R Performance ensures each project is dyna-tested, perfectly balanced, and ready to rip pavement the moment it leaves the bay. Beyond performance builds, the shop has also tapped into the lifestyle side of street racing. Martin's team has expanded into branded merchandise, hats, shirts, keychains, and even die-cast car models that reflect the Fireball Camaro's likeness. These limited edition collectibles, some autographed and handmade, can fetch up to $130 a piece, highlighting the brand's crossover appeal between racers and collectors. It's not just a garage, it's a destination for those who live and breathe the culture. Perhaps most impressively, B&R's reach extends far beyond Oklahoma. Racers from across the country seek out the shop for its expertise, often shipping their vehicles in for tuning or upgrades. This level of trust didn't come from marketing, it came from results. Martin's builds win races. His tech setups create champions. His engines roar louder and last longer than most on the circuit. In an industry saturated with fly-by-night speed shops, Ryan Martin's B&R Performance stands apart. It's a place where engineering meets obsession, where every weld, every tune, every adjustment reflects not just skill, but the spirit of a man who turned his garage into a proving ground for greatness. Ryan Martin may have launched his empire under the hood of a Camaro, but his true genius reveals itself far beyond the roar of a V8. In recent years, Martin has transformed himself from a performance tuner into a full-fledged automotive mogul, with a growing list of business ventures that span merchandise, media, sponsorships, and strategic brand expansion. It's a pivot few racers pull off and even fewer sustain. But Martin, as always, is different. He doesn't just build fast cars. He builds empires. At the core of his diversification is brand clarity. The Fireball Camaro isn't just a vehicle anymore, it's a symbol. It has become so recognizable that it now anchors an entire merchandise line, complete with its own dedicated website. Fans can browse exclusive gear, from autographed die-cast models to clothing that carries the same red and black branding as his street machine. These aren't throwaway souvenirs, they're carefully curated pieces of a legacy. By transforming a race car into a lifestyle brand, Martin has cracked a code that escapes most motorsport entrepreneurs. Meanwhile, Martin Motorsports, a parallel venture, continues the momentum. It serves as another pillar in his growing business structure, offering performance parts and street racing solutions for a wider audience. From free shipping promos to exclusive parts drops, Martin keeps this brand agile and connected to his core fan base. His team's obsession with the GMLT1 platform in particular has set them apart, allowing them to corner a specialized segment of the market with deep technical expertise and real-world success stories. Then there's his social media mastery. With over 2,000 posts on Instagram and a growing follower count, Martin doesn't just post highlights, he opens the door to the garage. His content offers a blend of behind-the-scenes footage, race day recaps, technical insights, and family moments. It's this calculated transparency that keeps his fans emotionally invested. In an age where digital presence equals brand power, Ryan Martin isn't just keeping up, he's leading the pack. His partnerships reflect this elevated status. One of the most notable is with HP Tuners, a respected player in the engine tuning software space. As a sponsored athlete and collaborator, Martin gets more than free gear. He receives technical support and co-development opportunities that further sharpen his competitive edge. These relationships aren't just endorsements, they're business alliances built on mutual respect and shared goals. The blueprint is simple but masterful. Build something exceptional. Brand it effectively, share it authentically, and use it to build even more. Martin has applied this formula with surgical precision, turning horsepower into profitability and fame into sustainability. Where others see a finish line, Ryan Martin sees a launch pad. Behind the noise of roaring engines and the tension of countdown lights, Ryan Martin leads a quieter, more grounded life, one marked by family, commitment, and a strong sense of personal balance. While his public persona may be etched in carbon fiber and nitromethane, the man himself is rooted in values that rarely make it on camera. At the center of his world is his longtime partner, Cherished Martin, and their son, Dax. Together, they form a trio that has not only endured the spotlight of reality TV, but thrived within its pressure. Cherished isn't just a name in the credits, she's an active participant in Ryan's journey. Whether it's managing aspects of B&R Performance, attending races, or helping raise their son while navigating the chaos of national tour schedules, she remains a steady force beside him. For a man so deeply immersed in a sport that consumes time, focus, and physical energy, Martin's ability to preserve his family life is a rare achievement. He hasn't had to choose between horsepower and home. He's found a way to fuel both. Their home base in Oklahoma City doubles as headquarters for their business and personal operations, and that proximity keeps Martin firmly connected to his roots. He could have moved to a coastal racing hub, built a flashier brand in a bigger city, but he didn't. Instead, he's made Oklahoma part of his identity, proving that success doesn't require abandoning your foundation. The same streets that raised him now witness his legacy unfold track by track, race by race. Martin's approach to parenting is as deliberate as his racing. Though notoriously private about his son, he's made clear through interviews and appearances that being a father is not a role he takes lightly. He talks about balance not as a buzzword, but as a necessity. How late-night tuning sessions are weighed against family dinners. How race wins are celebrated only when shared with the people who matter most. This harmony between personal and professional life hasn't been accidental. Martin has built it with intention. He structured his businesses to allow him flexibility, surrounded himself with trustworthy staff, and kept his inner circle tight. His fans may never see the full extent of his family life, but the evidence is clear in his consistency, his focus, and his longevity. In a sport where burnout is common and ego often outpaces ethics, Ryan Martin has built a different kind of empire, one where horsepower and heart work in tandem. His success is measured not just in seconds on the scoreboard, but in years of sustained commitment to the people waiting for him after the finish line. When Street Outlaws premiered on the Discovery Channel in 2013, few could have predicted it would become a defining force in American automotive entertainment. Centered on Oklahoma City's underground racing scene, the show promised raw, unscripted speed, and it delivered. But what elevated Street Outlaws from gritty niche to national phenomenon was its characters, and none rose faster or higher than Ryan Martin. In a sea of oversized personalities and brash talkers, Martin brought a different energy, calm, technical, and quietly ruthless. His presence marked a turning point, where racing precision began to steal the spotlight from showmanship. That the show's structure a top 10 list ranking system for Oklahoma's fastest racers was deceptively simple, but it laid the groundwork for real, tangible stakes. Racers could challenge those ranked above them, but only if they were ready to risk everything. For viewers, it was a weekly dose of suspense. For drivers like Martin, it was a battleground, where engineering and execution mattered, just as much as confidence. Martin's background in tuning gave him an edge others didn't expect. While many of his rivals were focused on brute force and flashy upgrades, Martin obsessed over data logs, gear ratios, and street conditions. He didn't just race the car, he understood it at a cellular level. That difference quickly translated into victories, and those victories transformed him from the quiet guy with a fast car to a recurring threat at the top of the list. Yet, the appeal of Street Outlaws wasn't limited to who won races. It thrived on rivalries, drama, and the behind-the-scenes mechanics of street racing culture. Viewers learned to follow not just the cars, but the drivers' personalities. And while Big Chief, Murder Nova, and Daddy Dave brought their own legends, Ryan Martin carved out a new archetype, the builder-driver hybrid who played the long game. As the show expanded its reach with multiple spin-offs including No Prep Kings and America's List, Martin adapted with ease. Each format required different skills, different vehicles, and different strategies. Yet he remained competitive across them all. His consistency wasn't luck, it was preparation. And that preparation made him a pillar of the franchise, both respected by peers and revered by fans. Through Street Outlaws, Ryan Martin didn't just gain visibility, he gained influence. His cars became icons, his business grew, and his methodical rise through the ranks proved that in a sport known for unpredictability, there's still room for discipline, intelligence, and long-term vision. As Street Outlaws exploded into mainstream success, its evolution gave birth to a more intense and treacherous format. No Prep Kings. This spin-off series took the competition off the familiar Oklahoma streets and placed it on unpredictable drag strips, stripped of traction compounds and safety assurances. For most racers, the jump meant a complete overhaul in strategy. For Ryan Martin, it was the perfect battleground. The new environment demanded not just raw power, but adaptation, control, and nerves of steel. In all three areas, Martin was already ahead of the curve. The No Prep Kings series, launched in 2018, quickly became the ultimate test for racers who claimed to dominate on the street. The absence of prepped surfaces meant drivers had to contend with variable grip, irregular traction, and constantly changing weather conditions, all while facing off against the country's most elite competitors. In these chaos-fueled showdowns, Martin's Fireball Camaro didn't just survive, it thrived. By 2022, Martin had clinched 3 No Prep Kings championship-earning titles in 2019, 2021, and 2022, and had firmly cemented his place at the top of the franchise. Martin's success wasn't just due to superior hardware, it was his tactical discipline and relentless testing that made the difference. Where some drivers relied on instinct, he relied on science adjusting, launch timing, shock travel, and engine parameters with surgical precision. He understood that in no prep racing, traction isn't given, it's earned. And he built his program around mastering that elusive grip, but no prep. Kings also elevated Martin's public profile in ways no street race could. The touring format of the series meant that fans across the country could see him live. His popularity surged, drawing massive crowds who came not just to see his Camaro rip down the strip, but to meet the man who'd become a living blueprint for how to win in both the business and competitive sides of racing. With every stop on the tour, Martin's brand grew stronger, and so did his influence. Critics who once dismissed him as the quiet tuner now had to admit that Martin wasn't just surviving this new era, he was dominating it. His reign in No Prep Kings wasn't a fluke. It was the culmination of years of discipline, innovation, and unrelenting drive. While others burned out or faded away, Martin kept pushing, kept evolving, and kept winning in the unforgiving world of no prep drag racing, where even the smallest mistake can cost everything. Ryan Martin has proven himself not just a champion, but a master strategist. And in doing so, he turned No Prep Kings into his personal proving ground. No racing empire rises without stirring dust, and Ryan Martin's ascent through the ranks of Street Outlaws has not been without controversy. As the show matured and its audience swelled, so too did the scrutiny. Allegations of cheating, whispers of scripted drama, and even the attention of national racing authorities would all become part of the show's chaotic ecosystem and, by extension, part of Martin's world. While he's rarely been the loudest voice in the room, Martin has often found himself at the center of high-stakes disputes and reputational landmines. One of the most talked-about controversies involved allegations that fellow racer Jeff Lutz was using an illegal burnout technique to soften his tires before a No Prep Kings event, an apparent violation of the series' core principle, unpredictability. Martin's name surfaced in those discussions, not necessarily as the accuser, but as a driver directly affected by those tactics. Elsewhere, a long-simmering rivalry between Big Chief and Murder Nova brought its own storm of accusations, from hidden nitrous setups to the use of lead buttons that allegedly gave drivers an unfair edge. But perhaps the most consequential critique came from beyond the show. The National Hot Rod Association, NHRA, once threatened to revoke licenses of drivers who appeared on Street Outlaws, citing concerns over safety and the glorification of illegal street racing. The show, they argued, blurred the line between entertainment and reckless behavior, while the producers maintained the races were staged legally. The reputation of real-life participants, including Martin, hung in the balance. Despite the noise, Ryan Martin navigated these controversies with calculated restraint. He never leaned into the drama, nor did he let it define his legacy. Instead, he focused on performance, on letting his cars, his wins, and his professionalism speak louder than the rumors. That focus allowed him to not just survive the reality TV machine, but to thrive within it. Culturally, the impact of Martin and Street Outlaws is undeniable. What started as a subcultural show about Bacali racers evolved into a national franchise, with economic tentacles stretching across merchandise, tourism, and media licensing. Video games like Street Outlaws, The List, and Winner Takes All extended the brand's reach, while local race events drew thousands of spectators, pumping revenue into host cities. Martin's role in that transformation is profound. He helped elevate street racing from a backroom hobby to a legitimized motorsport business model. He's not just a driver, he's become a symbol of the modern racer. Immediate, savvy, business-minded, and technically unbeatable. While critics continue to question the authenticity of reality racing, Ryan Martin's results remain indisputable. In the end, his legacy may not be judged by the controversies that swirled around him, but by the culture he helped create. A culture where street racing isn't just filmed, it's respected, structured, and, thanks in part to him, sustainable. In an arena once defined by risk, rebellion, and raw instinct, Ryan Martin emerged not just as a racer, but as a revolutionary. His story is more than a tale of speed or strategy. It's a blueprint for what modern street racing can become when guided by vision, discipline, and relentless self-improvement. From the quiet corridors of B&R Performance to the roaring finish lines of No Prep Kings, Martin has built more than machines. He's built momentum. Sustained, calculated, unstoppable momentum. While others chased fleeting fame or relied on loud personalities, Martin stayed rooted in the essentials: mechanical mastery, performance consistency, and the unwavering belief that results speak loudest. His cars win races, his businesses shape markets, and his example has inspired a generation of racers who now see street racing not just as adrenaline-fueled rebellion, but as legitimate opportunity. He didn't get here by accident. Every pivot from turbos to superchargers, from local shop to national brand, was deliberate. His partnerships were strategic, his media presence intentional, and his racing decisions backed by data, not ego. In doing so, Martin didn't just raise the bar, he redrew the boundaries of the game. He showed what's possible when talent meets planning, when horsepower is paired with humility, and when the love of racing is never compromised by the pressure of spotlight. Off the track. His devotion to family anchors his life with the kind of balance most competitors can't maintain. In the garage, he mentors, innovates, and builds legacies on four wheels. On screen, he remains a standout in a franchise often overshadowed by drama because authenticity can't be scripted. And Ryan Martin never needed a script to be great. The Fireball Camaro may have brought him recognition, but it's his clarity of purpose that has sustained his rise. Today, Ryan Martin is more than a name etched into the Street Outlaws lineup. He's a movement, a mindset, and a marker of what's possible when passion and professionalism collide. In a world that often burns out its brightest, Martin continues to blaze forward, engine roaring, eyes fixed on the next quarter mile, with no intention of slowing down.